You might think that the most dangerous weapon in the world today is nuclear deterrence. But believe me, you're wrong.
They deserve it.
Dear Fox.
The weapon that is being used daily and whose impact can erase entire countries off the map is cyberattack, or as we know it today, hacking. Hackers today are the most dangerous people on Earth. You might be surprised if I told you that a country the size of the United States might negotiate and try to please them just to stop their attacks, or to prevent one from happening in the first place. To understand the level of power they've reached, let me tell you a story that happened a few years ago. Its protagonist was a 15-year-old kid who managed to hack the most powerful intelligence agency in the world, the CIA. Not only that, but he demanded a ransom of $5 trillion in exchange for not publishing the information he had obtained. I'm Antoni, and welcome to a world where truth is stranger than fiction. They say all stories sound the same, but not when I tell them. If you enjoy uncovering hidden mysteries, make sure to support the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a story. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of the most famous hacker in history. This young man drove the world crazy and literally changed systems and laws. I want your opinion in the comments. Should we make a series about the most famous hackers in the world? What topics would you like us to discuss and focus on in the coming period? I'll read all your comments. I don't think I need to remind you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. In 1955, specifically at MIT in the US, the first hacking operation in history took place. It was a very simple operation carried out under the supervision of the center itself. The target was the internal system of the center. The goal of this experiment was to measure the effect of hacking and determine whether it was even possible. It was like testing vaccines or drugs on creatures, physiologically similar to humans. If the vaccine works, it's adopted. If it fails, it's scrapped. Of course, the hacking operation succeeded, and the experiment was repeated several times to understand the method or form in which hacking occurs. The center then published a study discussing the concept of hacking, stating that it needed to be studied more broadly and deeply, and that laws should be enacted to regulate and legalize it. Indeed, over the years, the concept evolved and became globally recognized. Now, whenever I show you a photo of a person with a hood or mask sitting in front of a computer, the first thing that comes to your mind is, this is a hacker. Hackers are classified into 3 types globally, and it's important you know them so you can understand where we're heading and why they are considered the most powerful weapon in the world. The first type is white hats. These are legal hackers who work with governments and systems. Just like every country has an army made up of soldiers, tanks, missiles, planes, and just like the army is divided into air, ground, and naval forces and intelligence, every country today has a cyber army. Their mission is to provide cyber protection for the country's systems and files. These are called firewalls. They create programs and codes to prevent breaches. Part of their job is also to attack any enemy. I'm sure you've all heard of the cyber attacks that happen frequently between the US and Russia. Periodically, the Russian cyber army attacks US systems, and vice versa. It's globally known that Russia, Pakistan, China, and India have the strongest cyber armies. Their approaches are considered dishonorable. I don't know if that's because they attack the US and its allies, or if they really are not clean. Moreover, the programmers who work in the Chinese, Russian, and Pakistani cyber armies are not classified as white hats. That means if one of them travels to Europe or the US, they'll be arrested as criminals. Here's a point worth clarifying. White hats operate under the direction of their governments, which doesn't necessarily mean they're clean. For example, the Israeli cyber army has carried out several hacking and extortion operations targeting some of the world's most famous figures, like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, artists, politicians, and heads of state. They've also tried to hack every system in the world, literally every system in every country. Global records show cyberattacks conducted by the Israeli cyber army. Despite all this, the US and Europe still consider this army part of the white hats. So the classification of white hats by the US and Europe isn't something you should take seriously. For example, China, Russia, and Pakistan aren't classified as white hats, while the Israeli cyber army, despite all the shady work, is classified as white hats. So that classification doesn't really matter. What's important is that we understand that those working in a country's cyber army alongside the military are considered white hats. These people, without exaggeration, can earn more than a country's president. These individuals are considered literal treasures. You'll see what I mean in a bit. Next come the gray hats. These are the good, decent hackers. No one knows them. No one feels their presence. They're not affiliated with any organization and have no political leanings. They might hack your account and leave without doing anything. For them, it's just practice. Nothing more. This category of hackers is mostly freelancers. Their job is to hack websites to secure them and discover vulnerabilities. For example, JP Morgan Bank, which earns over $200 billion annually, handles financial transactions every second across the globe. Of course, they need an extremely powerful protection system to secure depositor funds. Imagine that JP Morgan's system is exposed to 600,000 hacking attempts daily. Can you imagine the number? 600,000 attempts just to find a small vulnerability to break into the system. Once inside, the hacker can steal or modify whatever they want. Of course, these serious attempts aren't carried out by one person, but by groups of 1,000, 2,000 or more. These hackers launch their attacks simultaneously, using multiple methods to overwhelm the system's firewall in hopes of successfully breaching it. If a bank like JP Morgan gets hacked, it would literally bankrupt the world, not just hypothetically. This bank is a giant entity managing a banking network that spans the entire globe. If it gets breached, the global financial system would halt. In seconds, the money in your pocket, mine, and everyone's would turn into worthless paper because there would be no bank balances backing them. The situation would become insanely complicated. This might not be the most precise example, but my goal is to help you understand the gravity of the issue. Because it's so serious, what does a bank like this do? It contracts with gray hats. They don't just go looking for them and ask them to help. Instead, the bank hires a cybersecurity company. That company has an army of hackers whose only mission in life is to launch strong cyberattacks against the bank's sites and accounts. If one of these attempts succeeds, it means there's a vulnerability. They identify it and fix the problem. All official and private systems contract with companies for massive sums to protect their accounts. Tech giants like Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet announce rewards that can reach hundreds of thousands of dollars for any programmer who discovers a vulnerability in their official systems. So if you're a hacker after watching this video, go try to hack the websites, programs, or anything related to those companies. If you succeed and discover a vulnerability, contact them and say, "I found a bug in your app." If you're right, they'll pay you based on how dangerous the vulnerability is. But be aware, they might give you nothing. Maybe they already know about the bug and left it there for reasons they want. In 2013, Palestinian engineer Khalil Shreate discovered a bug in Facebook. When he contacted them and the issue was fixed, they gave him no reward. So just keep watching the video, focus on your work and specialty, and forget about all this wear a mask and look for videos on how to become a hacker stuff. Now to the third and final category of hackers, the main subject of this video, black hats. These are hackers whose sole job is to hack accounts and carry out cyber attacks that could disable entire countries, like the cyber attack that shut down the Colonial Pipeline in the US. That pipeline transfers and produces 2.5 million barrels of fuel per day. Imagine when it got hacked, 18 U.S. states were left without gasoline, diesel, or gas. Cars, planes, ships, all came to a halt. There's no need to tell you that the U.S. immediately blamed Russia, and as usual, Russia denied it. The hackers responsible demanded a $30 million ransom. At that point, the U.S., with all its power, faced two tough options. The first was to pay the ransom, which would solve the problem immediately, get the pipeline running again like nothing happened. But this would signal to every cyber gang in the world that the U.S. is willing to pay. So come, attack us, and take what you want. Believe me, America, with all its strength, can't stand up to these people if the attack is strong enough. The gang could ask for even more. That's why they went for the second option. Repair the system and develop a new one. This process would take 40 days. 40 days without fuel for 18 states. They had backup plans, like transporting fuel from other states. But this was very costly and only covered 45% of the need. It took 21 days to fix the system, and everything returned to normal after 45 days. The operation cost the U.S. about $75 million. If you think about it rationally, you'll see they were right to do this. Paying $75 million to fix the system was better than paying $30 million in ransom, because otherwise, the U.S. would become a target for every cyber group in the world. Everything we said in the video is just a prelude to the godfather of black hats, the child who has ruled the hacking world since 1955. Some believe this isn't accurate, and that there are hundreds more powerful and dangerous hackers, but they're unknown. However, we're talking officially and documented. This kid is classified as having carried out the largest hacking operation in U.S. history. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. In 2008, specifically in the game Counter-Strike 1.3, anyone from my generation knows this game. It was revolutionary in gaming back then. Its popularity crossed borders. It was the #1 game worldwide. I think even aliens played it. If you remember, pressing the key on the keyboard would open a command menu where you could type admin passwords. The server admin set the allowed commands. Some gave you money to buy weapons, others had different functions. Our story starts right there in 2008 in Virginia, U.S. There was a child about 8 years old. To this day, no one knows his real name, but online he was known by his alias, Default. He used to write it just like that, Default. He was obsessed with computers and addicted to Counter-Strike. Default's father was a software engineer working in a government tech job. Who his father is and what exactly his job was, no one knows. But what matters is that his father got him into programming and computers. When Default was 7, his dad taught him a few tricks, things that were considered a scientific revolution for a child at that age. That's all we know about Default's early days. This kid was so smart and gifted that people would call him a born programmer. In fact, Default is the one who coined the term born programmer. Just imagine who we're talking about. This was a kid. Default grew and began doing things way beyond his age and intellect, like accessing neighbors' Wi-Fi and using it to get into their devices. He would open a Counter-Strike server and, from the same server, access players' computers. This kid was a programming prodigy. At that time, there was a very famous hacker gang called AnonSec. They were trending and terrifying the world, hacking TV broadcasts, radio, airport, and company systems, everything. They were a real global threat because they could hack any system. AnonSec was a group of hackers with no official accounts or offices. They didn't post job openings. You couldn't interview or get hired by them. They had their own ways of spotting talent, unexpected ways. Despite their rapid growth and fame, Default couldn't reach them, not in any way. He just kept improving his skills on his own. He joined some website hacks with anonymous people he didn't even know, just to learn more. Imagine, without a teacher or being part of any hacker group, this kid taught himself encryption, built multiple security systems for his own computer, and all the data on his machine was encrypted. No one could breach it or access it. And remember, this child was under 10 years old while doing all this. He did the impossible, yet still couldn't join a non-sec. But one day, he participated in a cyber attack on a particular website. This attack was being led by a group called Anon-SK. At that time, they offered him to join them and work with them. But Default refused. He had a clear principle: never work with any group unless you fully understand their true motives. He believed that many of these digital gangs were exploiting talented hackers for unethical or purely destructive purposes. Not long after that incident, Default's name started spreading like wildfire in hacker communities on the dark web. Everyone was talking about the genius kid who could build security systems from scratch, discover vulnerabilities in seconds, and write code like a machine, not a human. At just 13 years old, Default managed to breach the operating system of a massive American tech company that had contracts with the Department of Defense. The system he hacked was used to analyze satellite data. The attack was clean. He didn't delete, alter, or destroy anything. Instead, he left a small message hidden inside one of the server files. "If you paid your engineers better, I wouldn't be here." The message caused an uproar, prompting a full-scale investigation by U.S. intelligence agencies. After months of digging, they traced the attack to an anonymous figure on the dark web, but they couldn't identify who he really was. That figure was Default. By the age of 15, after a series of calculated and dangerous breaches, Default pulled off the impossible. He hacked into the internal communication network of the CIA itself. He accessed internal systems, retrieved classified documents, and wiped all traces of his entry so well that no one could even tell how he got in. But he didn't stop there. Default directly contacted a U.S. government agency and made a bold demand: $5 trillion in exchange for keeping the stolen information private. Of course, the demand wasn't met, but the threat was taken very seriously. The U.S. launched a massive cyber manhunt to track him down. And during this time, Default vanished from the internet completely, like he never existed at all. To this day, no one knows if Default was just one person or a group. No one knows if he was secretly arrested or if he's now working for a government or a covert organization. All we know is that this kid, with his mind and talent, carved his name in fire in the world of hacking, and became a legend among black hat hackers. Is he a hero or a criminal? That's up to you to decide. Would you like us to continue with stories of other hackers who changed the world? Do you believe a hacker can be a hero if they use their skills for the right reasons? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. The world is full of mysteries. Some are waiting to be discovered, and others are better left untouched. Until next time, stay curious, stay mysterious, and see you next time.